The laughter came out before she could stop it. Not loud, not cruel, just a soft, surprised sound that hung awkwardly between them. Elena Royce, CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech firm, glanced at the man sitting across from her and immediately regretted agreeing to this blind date. He wore a plain white shirt, slightly faded jeans, and had the tired eyes of someone who woke up too early and slept too little. This was not what she'd imagined. This was not her world. And yet, something about the way he met her gaze, calm, steady, unoffended, made her laughter feel heavier than it should have. Mark Dalton didn't ask why she laughed. He didn't apologize for not fitting whatever picture she'd built in her mind. He simply smiled, small and patient, and said, "I get it. This probably isn't what you expected." He told her he was a single dad, worked contract jobs, picked up night shifts when he could. No impressive title. No glossy success story. Elena nodded politely, already preparing the excuse she'd used to leave early. She told herself it was fine to judge quickly. In her world, speed was survival. The dinner moved slowly. Elena checked her phone too often, her thoughts drifting to board meetings and looming deals. Mark talked about his daughter, Lily, and the way she insisted on pancakes shaped like stars. He spoke simply, without trying to impress. Elena barely noticed how carefully he listened when she spoke, how he remembered details she dropped casually. When the check arrived, she insisted on paying, more out of habit than generosity. He didn't argue. That, strangely, annoyed her too. They were standing near the entrance when the night cracked open. It started with shouting. Then the sound of breaking glass. A group of men stormed into the restaurant, faces tight with anger, fists already clenched. One of them pointed toward Elena. Her stomach dropped. She recognized him instantly, an investor she'd cut out of a deal weeks ago after uncovering fraud. She'd won. The first thing she noticed about him was the silence. Not the awkward kind, but the steady, watchful calm of a man who had learned to listen more than he spoke. As he stood up from the small cafe table and smiled politely, Evelyn Carter, CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the city, almost laughed out loud. This was her blind date. This was what her best friend had insisted she needed. A single dad in a worn jacket, with tired eyes and coffee-stained hands. Evelyn forced a smile, already planning how to leave early. Evelyn's life ran on precision. Every minute was scheduled, every decision calculated. She had clawed her way to the top of a brutal industry, learning quickly that emotions were liabilities and expectations were dangerous. Blind dates were not her thing, but loneliness had a way of sneaking in late at night, after the board meetings and champagne celebrations were over. Still, as she glanced at Daniel across the table, she assumed this would be another story to laugh about later. He talked about his daughter, about school lunches and fixing leaky sinks. Evelyn nodded, distracted, amused by how far removed his world seemed from hers. Daniel noticed her smile wasn't reaching her eyes. He noticed a lot of things. Years of raising a child alone, of working long hours and navigating quiet struggles, had sharpened his awareness. He didn't take her polite distance personally. People often underestimated him, and he had learned to let them. When Evelyn checked her phone for the third time, he simply asked if she wanted to leave. Something about his lack of offense unsettled her. No wounded pride. No resentment. Just acceptance. They stepped out into the cool night air, and that was when everything shifted. A black SUV idled across the street longer than it should have. Evelyn didn't notice it, but Daniel did. The hairs on his neck rose, a familiar warning from a past he rarely spoke about. As they walked, footsteps followed too closely. Ev.